when we're scatterbrained and like energy draining, if you will, we do 5% of a lot of things versus 100% of one thing really well.
Welcome to the 100-Year Lifestyle Podcast, dedicated to you and your loved ones living at 100% for 100 years and beyond. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Plasker. Welcome, everybody, to the 100-Year Lifestyle Podcast. Yes, we are transforming health and longevity consciousness worldwide so that you and your family can live at 100% for 100 years. Dr. Eric Plasker here with a very good friend. We got smiling faces. We're on video right now. He's excited. I'm excited. Dr. Josh Handt from Lifestyle Locker fame, New York Chiropractic fame. Welcome, my nephew. Can I call you my nephew since I do all the time?
Sure.
Very cool.
Well, thank you so much. I'm pumped to be here because I know you're up to big things and you have been for a long time. And I think that mountain people are watching the video, they're behind you. I think you're climbing that mountain fast.
Yeah, it's well, that's Banff in the background there. It's a picture of when Lisa and I, we were out on a excursion a couple of years ago in October. So almost 2 years ago in October. I know you like to travel and explore and hike and do all those great things. And you're doing so many great things as a 100-Year Lifestyle affiliate and helping people in New York. Your practice has been there for 40 years. Not you, because you're 40 years old now, right?
Exactly. I started when I was 0.
Started when you... And obviously, our families are very close. And what's exciting about what I want to talk about today is you're turning 40. It's a new chapter of your life. And you have always been into athletics and sports, but you're taking on a new challenge, man. You're talking about, and you're going to do it because I know you're going to do a 100-mile run. Are you out of your mind, or come on, talk about this with us because you're taking it on and you're doing it. You look fantastic, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm not hitting on you. Tell us about this 100-year vision, 100-mile vision.
100-mile vision. Yeah. Well, it's kind of both all in one. And, people like, oh, you must be running. You must have started running when you were a kid. And the honest fact is I have hated running most of my life. I can't say I actually love it now, but what it's starting to give me is very different. I started running about when I first started in practice, I ran for a few years and gave it up. And then about 3 years ago, I started running again because I wanted to hit a marathon before I hit 40. Like that was a target. I'm like, you know what? It's the hardest thing ever for anybody to do. So I did a marathon. I go, well, okay, what's next? That was fun. Because the mental, physical challenge for anybody that's done anything for a long period of time, whether to walk or run, running a business, it takes like a lot of mental power, right?
Focus, sure.
Yeah. And then next it came to 50K, which is 32 miles. Completed that. I'm like, what's next? My wife looks at me, with her head shaking going, really? You're going more? I thought you said this was the last one. And then it was a 50 miler. Which was this past November, and now training for this 100. It's been a cool journey, and it's taught me quite a bit about myself, about focus, like you just said. It's taught me about mental clarity, about scatterbrains, because we are all in the world of health. There's so much information out there. Being focused is very challenging because it's with social media, with so many things, there's like
good and bad information. I mean, there's 100%. Information, good and 100%. Bad. There's a lot of really bad stuff and good stuff.
Yeah. So without a doubt. And what I found is I stopped running with headphones without music so I can be with myself. Right. And sometimes that's the most scary thing for most people to do. That's why in New York City, we tend to see people, I know you've been there. And for those that have been to New York City, they've seen probably 90% of people from the age, 5 years old and up have headphones on, right? They're just so disconnected from life in general that I said, you know what? I'm running in nature. I just want to be aware. If my thoughts start going crazy, that means my mind is scattered. I just need to calm down, breathe, and focus, and things become a lot easier. And the running is becoming a lot easier because of that. Rather than letting the music determine my energy, I get to control that myself.
I love that. And, we talk about in the 100-Year Lifestyle, energy drainers and energy gainers. And I think what you're saying is so true, that if you block out the noise, not by adding more noise, but by actually listening to the quiet, you start to learn a lot about yourself. Your self-awareness goes
Yeah.
up dramatically. And so what have you learned about yourself?
That I am scatterbrained quite a bit, right? No,
And
and
you're
I say
honest.
that, no, I'm going to be very honest, because I take on lots of things, and I love helping people, and I love taking care of myself. And I'm realizing that, if I focus my energy on things that I love, and I pick like my practice, I love taking care of people. So if all of my energy, when I'm there, my present time consciousness is not like, oh, do I have a podcast recording tomorrow, or did I pay my mortgage for next month? Like, that's not the thought process anymore. When I'm with my practice, whether I'm seeing patients or I'm doing something for the practice, I'm 100% there. So it's really helped me focus and kind of limit where my thoughts go, because when we're scatterbrained and like energy draining, if you will, we do 5% of a lot of things versus 100% of one thing really well.
Yeah,
And
that's
one of
very
the
well
biggest
said
things.
and very important. I know for me, I talk now at my stage of life. I'm a really simple guy. I love what I do in my work, and I love this in that way. And you're
Mm,
kind of saying the same thing. You block out a
yes.
lot of the noise, and it helps you become more fulfilled because
Yes.
you're doing things that are more fulfilling to you.
Yeah. And it's keeping me happy. And I never thought that I would say running would make me happy. Running is probably, for most people, I think running is the most miserable thing they could possibly do. But I truly, honestly believe that as a human species, we are actually born to run. And I'm feeling that now, like maybe those first few miles that I run, like I ran right before this call, I ran 12 miles and this sounds crazy, but this is a short run day for me. Right. And it's like after those few miles, it just gets into a pace, and it's just it's meditative, it's calming.
Yeah, you get a
Granted, I'm
rhythm going.
sweating. Yeah, I mean, and you connect. I mean, you connect to that like wisdom in the body, and you connect to the overall. I feel, and it may sound cheesy to some people, but the wisdom of like the whole planet, like that innate intelligence that we talk about, the universal intelligence we talk about, like the universe view. Like I'm connected, and I just flow. It just becomes easy. And
Yeah.
I can see how, I've read and heard about these people, these tribes in different parts of the world that live to 100 plus years old and don't do anything that any of us do because they're not connected to modern society. And they're running from tribe to tribe, 100 plus miles at a time, eating like corn and going, holy cow, like that's not me, obviously, but that's right. But we get to see that like movement is natural for humans. And I
Yeah.
think it's part of like, it fits. I got to teach the other day about, I talked about the fitness acronym, and I feel that I'm living that like 150% right now.
Yeah, neurology, nutrition, endurance, strength, and structure, like a lot of
Yeah.
our affiliates are teaching in communities everywhere. And I want to go back a little bit to what you said. You just started running a few years ago, and there's a lot of athletes. I know you were an athlete. You were a competitive skier.
Uh-huh.
I know very young, and as you got older and started to take on new challenges physically, you decided to start running just a few years ago. And Ida Keeling, who just got an ESPY award she's over 100 years old, and for running, she's setting records running at over 100 years old. And she didn't start running till the age of 67. And
There
she
you go.
started running because of a crisis. I don't know if you know this or not, Josh, but she started running because she had grief over the murder of her children, who they got into the drug thing, she said, and they were murdered. And she started running. So it was crisis motivation. A lot of people that you and I see in our practices, and people with the 100-year lifestyle, with Lifestyle Locker, they're crisis motivated, and
Mhm.
crisis motivates them. This was I believe, a choice, like we say, a quality of life motivation. Talk to us about the motivation that you see for yourself or other people, crisis lifestyle motivation, to make a commitment like this. And what does it take once you make that commitment?
Yeah, I will tell you, when we teach the principles of crisis care through that critical transition towards lifestyle care, when I kind of frame this around my running, that the crisis care is the beginning phase where you have to pay attention for me was paying attention to a lot of things. It wasn't just moving. I needed to be committed to move many times a week, 5 times a week. I had to be committed to being able to change my eating, my sleeping, my family commitments and make things work so that life didn't just revolve around one thing. Because if you do in crisis care, when we have, our patients have these frequent visits all jammed really in a close period of time, that's where all of the momentum for that snowball builds. And the same with my training. And, I was concerned, like, how am I going to know exactly what to eat? And I started reading books, and a lot of the people in the book said, your body will tell you what you're going to start to need to eat.
Interesting.
And I changed my diet. I shouldn't say diet, but changed the way my eating habits, my sleeping
So what did you
habits.
start eating? So as you started getting some momentum, you started to, number one, obviously you made a decision, you wanted to do it, and you pushed yourself and your body started talking to you differently. We have a saying in 100-Year Lifestyle, it's probably on your wall, hanging on your wall, that your innate intelligence will organize around the thoughts that you think, the choices that you make, and the lifestyle that you live.
Yeah.
How did your innate intelligence begin to communicate to you about eating? What did it tell you needed to eat and think and do?
So early on, I was just eating more, right? Because I was burning fuel fast. And like me mentally, I didn't want to, not my innate intelligence, my mental intelligence, like, don't want to lose your size. You've worked so hard to get strong. And then I just gave up. Like, I didn't give up, but I just let it go. I'm like, okay, like, I'm a runner. It's all right. Let me be me. Like, I don't care what anybody else thinks. If I'm happy, that's all that counts. So I eat, we'll say paleo-esque, a lot of vegetables. I was eating red meat, chicken, fish, the whole 9 yards, and focusing on more on a higher fat with most vegetables, and then proteins and fats in there as well.
What kind of fats?
I do, in the morning, I make what I call like bulletproof or power coffee, which I'll throw grass-fed Kerrygold butter in my coffee with caprylic acid, which is a part of MCT oil. Other people know it as like a part of the coconut oil. So I start my day with that, and I intermittent fast. So I don't eat anything in the morning. Like, that's my fuel for the whole morning to about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Then it's a salad with some meat, some avocado oil, and tons and tons of olive oil during the day. What else? So fat-wise, nuts and seeds and things like that.
Great. And so as you started to get some momentum, you started to let go and turn it over. And have you had any injuries that you have had to overcome? And how do you think that, because I know we see people, I just had a young high school football player came to get adjusted, and he's out there and he's pounding it every day. His body's growing like crazy, and he's getting through it injury free. He's not like you and I did, doing things back in high school. We were blessed to be getting adjusted throughout that, in addition to the neurology, nutrition, endurance, strength, and structure. A big part of that is chiropractic care, getting adjusted.
Oh, yeah.
Have you had to deal with any injuries? Have you had to overcome any injuries, or are you staying for the most part injury-free? And how are you supporting your body and adapting?
So I'll say injury-free, yes. I've had a couple fluke things, like when I've changed shoes, because I'm burning through shoes a little faster at this point. Just like my feet feel weird when I change a shoe. And that usually, if it's not good after 50 miles or 60 miles of running in that shoe, they're gone. So I don't let my body get beat up for something that's simple like that. But as far as runners talk about knee injuries or hip injuries, I've been putting, like last week was 80 plus miles on my feet. Feel great. I'm not sore, which makes me feel a little weird. It makes me think I should probably be pushing harder, running longer, but I don't have enough hours in a day at this point between life and work.
Tolerate it.
Yeah. No, but I really chalk it up to consistency. And I love talking in my practice, my patients about this, about lifestyle care. I say I live on this side of the continuum, right? And do you see those dots that are really close together? They're like, yeah. I go, that's where I'm living right now. I'm getting adjusted the way people would be probably in their crisis care, very high frequency. So my body can respond and react real fast, and people are blown away that I don't get hurt.
Yeah, it's interesting. We also have a saying, which you just led up to it, is that the intensity of your lifestyle care depends on the intensity of your lifestyle and the underlying condition of your spine and nervous system. And so you have, with this commitment to run 100 miles, not 1 mile a day for 100 years, everybody. We're just talking about a 100-mile race at one time. And that's a lot of intensity. And so you definitely have to step up your care and what you eat and how you get adjusted and how your sleep and everything. talk to us about, for like a lot of our patients, or a lot of our people, they have an athlete inside that long time ago, maybe when they were younger in high school days and junior high school days, and maybe in college days, they were an athlete and they let that athlete go. They put that athlete to sleep. What's your opinion? Is that athlete still inside of them? And how could somebody like that wake up that athlete? And what would you recommend to that person?
I don't think the athlete ever goes away. I think they're still an athlete. You're born an athlete. You're born a human, which you're designed to move. And I truly, honestly, fundamentally believe that. So if someone has lost that, from getting a corporate job or sitting or whatever, even as a chiropractor, even if they're not moving the way they should, maybe want to, but they're fearful of getting hurt. The goal is not to say, hey, listen, I'm going to go and sign up for a 100-mile marathon or even a regular marathon in 3 months. If you're overweight and deconditioned, that's not the point. If you're willing and committing to make a change, the best thing that ever worked for me was registering to do something. If you were a runner, register for a 5K in 3 months, because that's going to light a little fire and you're going to go do something. And I'd say, listen, if you can run 1 mile and then walk a mile every single day, if it takes you 20 minutes to run a mile, who cares? That's not the point. But consistency, realize if you run and walk a mile, so that's 2 miles every day, in 1 month, you have 60 miles under your belt. That counts.
It does count. And what I think is also interesting is that your journey and how you have done this is, yes, there are people that came before you that you're learning from, but talk about how important it is from your perspective for people to embrace their own unique individual journey in whatever physical or mental or health commitments that they have to make. How important is it for them to embrace their uniqueness and honor that?
I think that's super important. And what I've learned along this journey from books I've read and hearing other experts talk about this, there are these extreme athletes that are running 200-mile races. They're saying the 200 is a new 100. Now I'm going, great. Like now that's the next thing, right? Type of thing.
That next thing you know, you'll be running to the moon.
Yeah, no kidding. But all kidding aside, they all say this, and I think this is so important, and their message is run your own race. Run your own race means, I ran in Central Park on Wednesday this past week at my lunch break, and they have a loop of 6 miles, and I'm going, no headphones, just me and my own thoughts, like we said, and I'm cruising, and I'm going, feel really good. My heart rate's good. I'm tracking this stuff. And then I'm like, nobody's passed me. This is really weird. And then like literally that thought came in my head and some guy blazed past me. And then 3 seconds later, a guy blazed past me, then blazed past the first guy, ran right back. I'm like, holy moly. So I noticed my cadence picked up. Then I had to think to myself, I go, I'm going to burn out. I'm not running their race. I am not that person. So being unique in the choices you make, I think for fitness, for everything, I know it gets played out. Those terms get played out a lot saying, hey, you got to find your true self. But I think if you just listen to yourself and listen to that your inner wisdom, and just, it doesn't make a difference what anybody else thinks. Unless you're going to be a competitive athlete that's going for a gold medal in the Olympics or getting paid for it, just love what you're doing and know that you're making progress every day, because progress is way better than perfection, which you're never going to reach anyway.
Yeah. And it's interesting. We have a guy who broke his neck years ago, cyclist. And about 7-8 years ago, he was going down a hill. He was a competitive cyclist. He was going down a hill really fast, hit a bump and went flying, fractured his neck, ended up having surgery, 3 plates in his neck. Fortunately, he wasn't paralyzed. And he ended up coming in, saw his x-rays, and I started adjusting his upper cervical using the activator, very light touch, as you know, of course, and you do them too. We have so many different techniques today in chiropractic that can help literally every single person function better. Exactly. And this guy, he started cycling again after he started getting adjusted, and he's did 6,000 miles in a year. 6,000 miles in a year. And then he did it again, another 6,000 miles. And he came in, it was the 3rd year now. He's been doing great, no setbacks. His allergies cleared up, his upper cervical adjusting, as you know, his allergies cleared up, his passion, his energy, no injuries. It was great stuff. But then the 3rd year, he says to me, Josh, he says, I'm a little behind this year, Eric. I'm on target only for like 5,785 miles. And I'm like,
oh, poor him.
right. And I'm like, Mike, why don't you just find some balance this year? Maybe your body's telling you that you need some balance. Talk to us about finding that balance as you are competitive and doing things, finding the right kind of balance for yourself. How are you achieving that?
I'll tell you, that's a challenge. That's a challenging question to answer, because the more I learn, the more I read, and everybody's life is different depending how many hours they're working in a day or in a week or in a month, and other things in their lives, other commitments. I can tell you that most people, I would probably say 80, maybe not this guy that's riding 6,000 miles a year that's had a broken neck, right?
Well, he's now taking cruises. That's how he's finding the balance. He's doing some things, he's taking some playtime.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. I think that's fantastic. But I think most people are spending too much time scrolling on their phones, that what I'm doing, which sounds crazy to most, which is a couple hours, like this morning was a 2-hour run or an hour and 40 minutes or whatever it was. That's an average day on a phone. So we have the capability to do a lot more for ourselves, which can transform our lives, rather than worry about what other people are doing and showing their amazing pictures. Because listen, I think it's great. I think people should showcase their stuff that they love. I'm all for it. I'm the same way. But spend some time like growing yourself. And I think the balance is, you need that playtime, but you definitely need that self-care time too, because the self-care is going to make the playtime so much better when you hit 80, 90, 100, 110, 120 years old. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be like Jack LaLanne when he was swimming across the English Channel. I don't want to swim because I don't want to be eaten by sharks like that, right?
Yeah, but you were swimming with sharks.
If you
don't want to be eaten by sharks, you shouldn't be getting in the water with them. You should check out the Lifestyle Locker lunatic over here who is swimming with sharks for real.
Yeah, no, but all kidding aside, that's a very powerful thing to be able to say, you know what? Like if I don't have kids, but if I had great grandkids at that time, I'll run your first marathon with you at 90 years old.
People are doing it, man.
No,
People
but
are doing it. We are
exactly.
redefining, like we say, we are transforming health and longevity consciousness worldwide. And you're doing such amazing things with yourself, with your practice and your community there. And talk to us a little bit about what's going on at New York Chiropractic. I know you have a new podcast there that you're reaching out to a lot of the people and bringing a community. We call them in 100-year lifestyle community in every community. That's our goal. You're doing it in your community, getting lots of people through that podcast that you're doing that's just for New York. Talk about what the goal is with that.
The goal is really, with living like optimally for a long time, you need to do a lot of things, right? We talk about like the bookends of that fitness acronym, right? The neurology and the structure, what we are absolutely awesome with in our office, keeping the spine and nervous system healthy, but also balance in life, from, relationships to nutrition to all of these other things. We want to make sure that our community can connect with each other and learn from, we have acupuncturists, we've got nutritionists, we've got dog walkers in New York City. I mean, we have all of these people that we want connected so that they can be around other healthy people. And if someone is searching for, so-and-so's nutritionist, they're going to be directly connected to us as well. So they're going to start to stumble across chiropractic on a very regular basis, so they can actually have their whole being, if you will, taken care of by just connecting through this podcast and connecting through our network of awesome people in New York.
Yeah, love that. Well, certainly you guys have been doing leaders there for decades and decades, and will continue on that path. And I'm excited that we get to work together. A lot of people don't know, and we're going to start to kind of wind down here a little bit. I remember when you came to Speak Up and Lead, and you were trying to find your voice.
Yep.
And you came into my basement, and the time that we spent getting coaching from me and the other people that were there on finding your voice, I got to tell you, man, I'm so proud of you. And now he attended this workshop with me, and then I did some work with him on marketing our voice through podcasts. Lisa, very instrumental in pushing me to do this and
Yeah.
getting me to do this, and Josh helping to guide us in that process, marketing our voice, finding your voice, marketing your voice. I'm so proud of the man that you're becoming, the leader that you're becoming. What's next for you in practice and in life as you continue to make a difference in the biggest way possible with what you're doing?
Well, I say practice is a head down focus. I mean, staying like as us chiropractors in the profession say, like when we're in the trenches, we're with our hands on with our people all the time. I absolutely love that. And really it's this next chapter in my life, which actually started, soon after turning 40, is really going to be getting into the community any way, shape, form I can, to have these types of conversations like we're having with business leaders, with possibly even government, with teachers, with parents, just to have these conversations, because people are looking for us. They really, really, really are. They just don't know we're here.
Yeah.
And if our voice is not given the opportunity to be heard, it will never get heard, right? We'll be talking to ourselves in a closet.
And a lot of our listeners are looking for their next big thing. I think that's a big part of what the 100-Year Lifestyle does for people. The consciousness of that is that, hey, you know what? 30 is not old, 40 is not old, 50 is not old, that there is no such thing as old. I need to stop blaming old and commit to your next big thing, which is what you're doing. And you're such a great example of that for all of us. So my friend, my nephew, my colleague, my brother, give us some closing thoughts for our listeners, people that are looking to make some changes, who want to start living their ideal 100-year lifestyle 100% for 100 years. Closing thoughts.
So closing thoughts, what I would tell everybody is that you were born to be healthy. You have the opportunity given to you every day. The choices you can make every day can lead you towards a better life. They can also bring you down a road you may not want to go down. So I will say that make some conscious choices. We've all heard of our gut, like making that gut choice. If your gut says, a box of blueberries, slice of pizza, box of blueberries, right? That type of thing. So making those simple
different than blue Skittles, right?
Yeah, better than blue Skittles, right? 100%. But we make those simple choices more consistently, those old habits will start to disappear. When they start to disappear, you're going to wake up one day and go, I can't believe I was doing what I was doing 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. And I look at myself the way I'm doing things now. I never thought, I swear on my life, my parents' life, my grandparents' life, my wife's life, I never thought I would want to challenge my mind and my body to do a 100-mile marathon. So I know that everybody's got that potential, that little fire that's there. It just needs to be stoked a little bit. It's waiting for you.
Love that, man. Like we say, live yours, right? Live yours. Yeah. Well, listen, always a pleasure to be with you. I appreciate the friendship, everything you are doing, working together in so many ways, and how you're taking care of people and changing people in New York City and all over the place with all of your work, Lifestyle Locker, and then some. So thanks for being here, everybody. Thank you for listening, for getting on our social media pages, for visiting Lifestyle Locker and everything they're doing over there. And we look forward to seeing you somewhere down the line, maybe at a seminar or an event, on our social media pages. Listen to our podcast, share them, and because your 100 is coming, everybody. You make the call. Thank you so much for joining us on the 100-Year Lifestyle Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have topics that you want us to cover, people you want us to interview, maybe you have some stories that you want to share, stories of yourself, loved ones, people in your life, we would love to hear from you and share your story. Please email us at my100@100yearlifestyle.com. And remember, nobody wants to get to 100 or even 50, 60, or 70 for that matter, crippled, broke, and alone. So please share the 100-Year Lifestyle, all of our podcasts, social media pages, website, with your family, friends, and coworkers so they can take this journey with you. And until next time, adjust your lifestyle. Live your best life today and every day on the road to a sensational century. Dr. Plasker, signing off.